Welcome to the studio. Today we got a scene from Nova Scotia and I wanted to go through the process of what I do before I even start the camera rolling, and I think it's important. It's all part of planning the painting, what paper you're going to use, what you want to accomplish with this scene here, what message you want to convey, and I think it's really important to plan anything before you even start your painting. You know, you can prep your paints and think about it while you're doing that, and what I do with my palette here. I'll show you my palette. I haven't cleaned up anything here. These make wonderful grays, and I like to pick, you know, different colors that I like that are pre-mixed in here too. I will mix this and this during this painting, and I spray the wells with water just to soften what's there. I also, you know, in this tray here, I've squeezed out some fresh cobalt blue and cobalt teal blue over here. I'm not sure. I'm going to be mixing them on here with a little bit of cat orange and maybe a little bit of red to change the tone and to get some colors in here. But this photograph is a little bit subdued. It's got an overcast day, the light shining a little brighter over here. Sun is starting to get lower in the horizon, and this is all part of the planning process. What sky are you going to want to do? What are you going to want to do with these cliffs and these trees? And one thing I want to show you, and I'll show you when we get to the stage, is how to trap the light, how to bring the light out in a painting when there is no light. Or not a lot of light anyways. You can see the variations, you know, the tonal differences between these darks and the lights. And here, a photograph is so much more difficult to see than when you're painting plein air. When you're painting plein air, the colors look so much more vibrant. You know, you see them with your naked eye and everything, so sort of in focus. Depends what glasses you're wearing, I guess, in my case. But anyway, so here in this painting, I can see all these colors. And you can enhance, you know, if you've got a digital viewer like this, you can zoom in, you can change, you can enhance the colors from what is there just to see what they look like. You can turn it to black and white so you can see your contrast. And here, what I can see is, you know, the green from these trees. There's a little bit of variation in the colors there. There's a brighter green where the grasses are on the top of this cliff. You know, there's some little caves and different things here that are going to give you some darks. And even, you know, in the sky, I can see some you know, reddish, purpley hues in here, just faint lines, and a little bit of a, you know, another brighter blue there. So we're going to try to convey that when we paint our sky, but even enhance it to make it brighter, because what happens with watercolor is it'll dry lighter than what you put on the paper, so you got to paint with that in mind. There's even some cobalt teal blue right here, look at that. And there's things that you pick up when you just analyze your painting part by part. This is your background here, you got your middle ground, and then you got your foreground into here. And even in this shoreline, it's important to note that, look at this gray line. Can you see this line here? I'm sure you can. And then darker below it, but this is quite gray, and it's going to lend itself well to pushing that back because there's not a lot of color there. We can start bringing in a little more color into here, and then back to this gray, but a little bit brighter, so it kind of catches your eye right in the middle of the painting, which is nice. Green, a little, you know, algae kind of kelp kind of stuff growing there, and same with here. I'm not sure what I'm going to use there. The water. If you look at the water, you've got some pink from the sky, from the sunset starting here. You've got some of the blues, and greens and blues there, and more blue back there. So we're going to work on that and work our way from top to bottom. The other thing I wanted to show you is I want to show you how to trap the light under these trees here. There is no gap below these trees. They grow right to the ground here when it starts. But what you can do is you're not going to lift that up, but you're going to leave a little gap of white underneath there. I hope I remember to do that because it's really neat when you do it. And then just put a few little tree trunks underneath, and it'll take your eye in there, and it'll create distance and detail, and it should look really good. Alright, so getting right into it, I'm going to pre-wet the sky here. And also what I'm going to want to do here, I'm pre-wetting the sky, but I'm coming down at an angle like this because I want my bright area here. There's, you know, the sun's starting to set, it's brighter here, the sun's set a little darker on this side here. So I'm going to just start getting a feel of this by just getting the whole paper wet here. Not too wet, you just want it damp. And what it'll do is it'll get things a little smoother when you're running your sky down. Just like that. And I got my paper towel, so I've got no pencil drawing on here, so there's no smudging to worry about. And just come all the way down here, and I've dried it there. But I'm going to go back into this sky, and I want it brighter over here. So I'm going to just add a little moisture to it. Just a little bit here. And even now you can go in and put in some little moisture clouds in here, and that'll help change the wash as it's coming down. So right away, whoop, I'm going to get into some cobalt blue here, and here we go. Mix it well on your palette if you're using fresh pigment, because you don't want a clump of paint there, because it's really hard to remove it when you get it on your paper. So mix it really well. You can't see that. I'll just bring this over here so you can see it. And hopefully I don't drip on there. I got some fresh pigment here. I've got old pigment down in here that's quite a bit darker. And these butcher pans are curved, so the pigment kind of runs down there. And I'll add a little bit of water to this brush even as I'm loading it. There's a fresh pigment. I got a little bit of cobalt violet left over. That won't hurt. I'm just going to mix it in with this here, just like that. And I'm going to start right into my painting and put this down. And I'm going to come across like this. So remember I was talking about coming in at an angle like this. And make sure you got enough pigment on your brush here to create your bead. And let it come down like this. Remember, this dries quite a bit lighter. And there, let it come down like that. And right away I'm going to get into this cobalt teal blue and mix into this bead down here. Keep running it down like that. And I'm going to just warm this up a little bit. I'm going to get a little cat orange on here. Yeah, I'm going to mix it in the palette here, I think. Yeah. And then just start introducing it down here. And start getting the pigment off the brush. And you want to get a little lighter here as we go. I got a little band there, and I drip some water there. That's not going to hurt on anything. Come down like that. Maybe get a little stronger cobalt teal blue as we get into here and see what happens. That'll make a nice horizon. Cleaning off the brush, I just want water now, and I'm going to keep going right to the bottom into here. And remember, you get your water here, so you're just painting this in reverse now. You've got some cobalt teal blue. I'm going to come in here with the water, for the water, a little bit stronger. And like that, let that come down, clean that brush off a little bit more, dry it off, get the right amount of moisture in your brush before you get into the pigment. And I'm going to go in here again like that, nice bright cobalt teal blue in there, and I'm going to come across where that kind of the beach is like that, and just in there. And then we got some little lines, so you can drop in a little bit into here, and it'll just dissipate to almost nothing as you go. That's looking good there. So I'm just going to run some clean water. I don't want to, well, we do want a hard edge here, but I'm just going to run that down so it's nice and smooth into there. So there, we've got our sky in there. The only thing we haven't done yet is put some clouds in. I'm just going to want to gently put some clouds in, just some hints of them, kind of like what's there. Nice little soft sky. And just lightly, I've just rolled up a piece of paper towel here, made a U shape out of it, upside down U, and I'll just lightly rub up against your painting like that. And have a look at it, see the clouds you're making in here. Again, these little marks will mostly disappear. I've got one, quite a bigger one down here. And I've got a little bit of an edge here. I'm just going to leave that because I'm going to make a mess of it. Because you start picking up or trying to add pigment, it's just going to make a mess of the edge anyway. And your painting's going to be most likely cropped there by the matting. And just putting in these little clouds, that's enough there. You can see when there's enough done here, and then wherever your horizon's going to be kind of here, just little marks. Again, no preliminary drawing, so we're just kind of estimating where the brighter sky is going to be. We're brighter over here. I'm going to come brighter right into here, again like that. And these are the distant clouds. You've got some middle clouds here. Just some little indications of them there. And that's about all you're going to want to do there. So I'm going to let this dry and then continue on, and we'll work on these trees and then work our way down into here, and then we'll frame this water. This water is pretty much done. You can actually go in here and you can put some clouds in your water as well, like that. You're just painting a sky reflection is all you're doing, just an upside down sky. You can even turn this right around and paint the sky in there just like you've done over here, and you'll get a nice reflection. So we'll let this dry and we'll continue. Okay, so this is dried sufficiently here, and I'm just, while it's drying, I was mixing up some pigment on the palette. And I'll bring this up here and show you. So I mixed up these grays that I have in here and these greens. You know, I've added a little bit of blue into this green just to push it back a little bit. Push back the distant trees into here. And you want to mix until you see a color that you're going to like on the palette here. And so a little bit lighter, it's a little bit damp, so I can feel the cold from the paper, but it's not, you know, wet enough where I can do anything with it other than, well, I'm not going to disturb it by touching it. Anyway, so you can rest your hand on it, do whatever you want, and then just kind of pick where you want to start, where you're going to want your horizon line. Well, I've already got a nice little spot right here that I've not painted in, so I'm going to put trees in there. And just start on the little horizon. So I'm gonna, I want kind of an uneven bottom on this where the cliff top is. And these are, remember, these are distant trees, so you don't want to go overboard and paint them all in. Just give them some detail like that. And a little unevenness on the bottom again and on the top. You don't want all the same trees in there. And you could just drag your brush across here. Now things that don't look like trees, I'll just get in there and fix them like that. And we got a darker line starting already there, so I'm going to get some darker pigment, some darker greens, and we'll see how much this crawls into here. You can put another one here. The paper's got a little bit of a wave to it, even though it's taped down here, because I did get it quite wet the first time. And we'll go and keep going with this line of trees. It kind of goes up a little bit here like that, and I wanted to trap the light on these ones here, not these ones on the top of this little hill. So I'm going to do that there, and maybe we'll put in a little bit of blue on my palette here. I'm just going to drop this in right on the bottom and just try to push this back a little bit further. And it gives it a little interesting color in there, just like that. There, and so we got our darker one there. We've got a few trees down below here. I'm not going to worry about them yet. I'm going to want to paint, I think we're going to go across and paint these ones here first. So they've changed in color. So I've got some green mixed up here, some sap green. And I'm going to go ahead and paint these, and they're bigger. That's a lot of pigment right there I just put on. So it's very, very wet. I'm just going to dry that off a little bit and mix thicker pigment in with this right on the paper. There we go, just like that. Well, that's almost going to drip there too. I better not move it. There we go. Okay, so that comes down a little bit lower than this part here. And there's a little gap where there's a little home or something in there. Right on the, so I'm going to come in there just like that. So you can see I've got too much pigment here, so I'm going to take it off my brush by just touching the edge of my palette. I'm going to suck it up. You can also pick up your painting and then just move it like that, and it'll move. Sorry, you can't see that too well, but just move it over like that. And on the bottoms here, just make it evenly uneven, if you know what I mean. Just to leave some interest there. And this is where I'm going to want to trap some light underneath these trees here, this tree line. So I'm going to leave a little few white highlights in there. So how we're going to trap the light is we're going to leave some light underneath it, and it's when we're going to paint the next section down there. So you can see the total difference between these trees and the light. Normally I'd be painting like this, but I'd be right in your way. So I've just got to think about it a little bit, how to position my hands so I don't make a mess of this. And we're going to go right across the page. We're just going to keep going. We're going to forget about that house, and unless we end up with a little roof there. Yeah, it's a little more pigment. Make sure I don't have a big drip coming here. And just put in some darker spots in there. And we're going to go straight across. A little bit darker, a little lower, I mean, not darker. A little lower in here. And a few different kind of trees in there. Okay, so we're here in this section. We got a few trees sticking up there like that. You can grab a little bigger brush, which is a good idea. Very, very small brush. I wet it, bring the bristles together by wetting it like that. And it's just got to be damp. And I'm just going to pull up some of these trees up a little higher so they read like trees a little better. And right to the edge like that. That's getting a little dry there. Like that there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we should work from that side, yeah. And this is still really wet in this corner. I'm going to pick up this pigment because I know it's going to go somewhere I don't want it to go if I don't do it. So there, we'll just wipe it down on our paper towel like that. And we do want to blend that in here. Let's see what kind of other green we can mix up here. Maybe a little bit of white, titanium white in the original green that we had here. And I think we'll get the good color out of this right here. Not quite green enough, but yeah, there it goes. And join them together. Tell your pigment where you want it to go. Show your pigment where you want it to go. Or tell it, whatever you want to do. Just like that. And I'm kind of liking what this is doing, but don't fall into the trap of doing too much detail in that distance there. So we trapped a little bit of light there too, but we're going to get a little bit of green gold, and watch what this does. It's going to go up into that next little section there. It's going to crawl up. Look at that, just perfect. And then into here as well. This is where we're going to trap our light underneath that. And I got some green gold. I haven't mixed anything in with this green gold here yet. I'm going to take it. I'm going to trap our light underneath here. And you see what the green gold does. It just moves right over here. So as long as you don't touch that tree line above it, it's not going to crawl down here because we still got some wet pigment there, unless that's what you want it to do. And I do want it to do that in certain spots, but not everywhere. And then here, this part of the painting here I'm looking at right now, I'm going to bring this down a little stronger down here. So we've trapped our light there, and I'm going to go in with probably that rigger brush here again. And maybe a little bit of Quinacridone gold, and we'll see if we can get some tree trunks kind of growing. Just a little detail under here. Just some verticals in there like that, and like that there. And then you're going to come in with some clean water I'll put a few more down in here, but I'm going to just go this way. And these ones, just for variation, bring that down in there like that. And that will look strange if you don't finish that off. I'm just going to put some little darker colors in there. So there. So you want that to join up with that bottom part as well. So this is the time where we're just going to go with some clean water and show it where I want to join up with the bottom here like that. And make a little bit more of an even there, just like that. So we get a little bit of light here, a little light shining through like that. So we've just got to continue on here. I think I'm going to go with this, a little bit of a brown color into here like that. And I got a little bit of Quinacridone burnt orange. I'm going to put this in here just in different little spots, and it's going to bring this forward as well and create some interest. That's about it like that. So we could have left a little bit more light in there as well, but I think there's just enough that it's achieved what we wanted to do. Now I've got a square brush that I'm going to use to do the rest of this down here. So I'm going to get in, let this dry a little bit, and then we're going to paint the cliffs underneath this. And I'm just watching what this is doing here. I actually quite like it, so we're going to just leave that and work on finishing our painting. So the next part, the cliff's going to go in, and then the shoreline, and we'll work our way around the water as we get to the front. Okay, time to paint these cliffs here, so we're going to get right into it. And drop this in here, and I'm going to mix colors on the paper as we go here. And I'm just looking to see how far down I want to go with that, and we can leave our little sparkles in there. There's a bit of an angle there because that's going away from us, so we got to look at that and come down here just like that. Blend that in. Blend these on the paper. This is still a little bit wet above here, and that's just fine. There's our cliff, like that. And now we're going to get in here, and we're going to change the colors here as we go. We're going to see what this does here. And I don't want it too bright here. We still want it like a cliff's edge up here, and we still want that pushed back, and so that's pretty intense colors, and so it's the same in the photograph too. So come across in there, and we can brighten that up the closer we get here, and drop in some verticals in here and different little spots. And just keep working on our cliff in here like that. There's a little bit of green that's kind of rolling over the edge here, so I'm going to paint in a little bit of green, blending this in here. A little bit more into that one there, just like that there. And we got some darks. I want some darks to pool in the bottom of certain spots in here. Kind of like what that's doing. See these darks in here? So I've just got some kind of a warm gray mixed up leftover pigment in the palette here. And depends how wet what you've just put in is, you know, how this is going to really behave on the shoreline here. So you're just working on your variations in color in this cliff side here. And up here we've got some horizontal little lines and things. So I'm just going to dry this brush off. Still, I've got a small square brush that I'm working with here. And I'm just going to get a few little lines in here. I'm not going to worry about the distance a whole lot. You know, you can put in your little, you know, there's some shadows and things under here. And there. You can put in a few things. Just a few little shadows, but don't worry about it too much. So a little bit of neutral gray. As this is tightening up, I've got a video on timing, and it's a really nice one to watch. It gives you a lot of information about when to paint certain things in your painting. That there, I'm going to bring that up a little bit more. And you can do as much of this as you want, or you can leave it simple. And I want verticals in here. There's a vertical rock wall. Yeah, just some faint ones as we get into the distance here. So as you start running out of pigment on your brush, you can work on these. Remember, you're looking at this, right? You got your nose right into your painting. So if you step back a little bit, a lot of times that's a little strong in there. So just soften that. Little finger painting. Glad I didn't get into the sky there. Almost did. And just give it some darks into here, into there, just like that. And then you gotta look at it. Just stand back a little bit and see what you like, see what you don't like. You can. This is pretty dark here. I just want to blend that a little bit. I've got some. Just gonna get some titanium white mixed in with my neutral gray here, and we'll just give it some verticals right by these here. Just work on this cliff a little bit. You can also pick up pigment if it gets a little bit. If you got a little bit too much on the paper, and you can pick up pigment and create detail that way too. So that's about it there. I'm going to come in here. So the next thing we're going to do is change brushes, and I'm going to paint that bottom part. Paint the first part of that shoreline over there, and it's quite gray. So I'm going to test it here. And is it gray enough, warm enough, cool enough? The next part is even darker, so you come in here like that. You can see that dark line there, and that's okay there. The paper's still a little bit damp, and I'm just seeing what I need to do for color. Okay, here we go. Get in here, so we got it right, and I come all the way across. And into that area over here. So that'll pretty much take care of that lighter band in there. I'm seeing my warm cliff was blending into there, which is good. And then, I mean, a little darker here, but I do want some, a little bit green, kelp, maybe a little bit more blue into that green to keep it back there, and put in our little darker areas into there. Like that. That'll go both ways. It'll go up and it'll stay put where you've got your shoreline here. And I'm going to go even darker, frame up that shoreline. And that pigment's going to pool down lower there. Leave some highlights in there. And start working on that. This is really a fun part. We can go in here. That's going to be not dark enough. So you want a little bit of warm color here. Quinacridone burnt orange with neutral gray, and we'll see what this looks like. We're going to make that little bit over here, but I'm going to start here because I'm going to test to see how much pigment I got on my brush, and I'll see if we can tease that over that way. And as we're lifting the brush, it's just giving us that little fine marks on there. Yeah, put another one, a little one there, like that. And at the right tone, there's a little brown in there, which is nice and warm. Bring that over into there, like that. And I'm going to drop a little bit of this green into here, kind of like what you're seeing on the, in the photo. So it's just going to give you some interest. A little bit like that. I got to remember I've got the foreground still left to do here, so I'm going to come around the corner and then get on and get into here, and I think I'm going to go gray, quite gray in this part here. I'm going to leave that because it's going to blend for me, and I'm just watching my shoreline here, the darker parts of the shoreline. You can see that little spot right there, and a little bit into there and down, and this is going to lighten on its own. So you can either just rinse your brush off now, you can take it across, rinse your brush off. That's what I'm thinking of right now. Depends how much pigment you have left on your brush. If you're going to get it lighter, I think it's going to be too dark, so I'm going to rinse my brush off. And I'm going to take this pigment that's right here, and I'm going to run it right off the page, just like that. There, that worked. See how it's lighter here? And without planning this, if I just continued across, it would be dark like that all the way across, which I didn't want to do. So I've got a little bit of warmer colors into here. Drop that in there. Let that come down and mix on the paper. And then now I've got that foreground, and I'm going to go ahead and paint that right in right now. So there's a little bit of a green line, and I can put that in after. It's quite grayish, warm, like a warm gray in there. But I do want to change the tone from that there. So I'm mixing a little bit of titanium white in with my neutral gray. And that should do it right in there, just like that. So yeah, I'm going to come across. It doesn't matter if I drip that there. You just want enough pigment on your brush. So this is a little bit too gray, but it's not going to matter. I'm going to change the tone of it after. I've got quite a hard edge here, quite a fine line, and join it up to there. Okay, so now is when I'm changing my tone. I'm going to warm it up here. I'm going to drop it right in the top here and let it come down and form a bead again. To there. And I want to go darker in the spot right underneath that, like that. Got some, I'm going to darken this a little bit while this is still wet so this mixes on the paper. And put some lines right across into here. Maybe one right under there. 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 No, not on the cliff, that's too far away. Okay, in there, and I do want to join that up a little bit better there with that gray. I've just picked up that gray again that I mixed right in there. Like that there. Okay, so I got a bit of a green line there, but I'm just going to run this all the way down. Just fill all this in. And the moment you touch that, it's coming down. It's not going to wait for you. So you can leave your little white highlights here and there, and you can make them rocks later on. Here, just like that. So we got our tone. Now have a look at the tone. You want dark, you've got darker here. So I might go in, and there's still time to change that. If you go darker, a little warm gray, and we're going to go right down here on our edge, and there's quite a bit of pigment here on the brush, and we'll let that come in like that. So I want a little bit of dark edge. I want to tease that either off the page or bring it back in this way, just like that, and we're quite dark into there. Again, a little bit more neutral gray. I'm having a look. I'm going to frame that light area up there. So good right there. I was thinking of taking that right off the page. Actually, I think I will. Just like that. There. So we got our cliff. We get a little bit of kind of grayish fog happening. So if you want to get rid of this, this is actually looking quite neat with a little bit of kind of a fog and a diffused shoreline there. But if you want to tighten that up, you can go in there at the right time and tighten up the base of this. Just like that there. The base of that cliff, and you can see the light starting to come out in the base of the cliff there, and that's looking good. So I'm going to stand back here and look at it, and I'm seeing that I need a little bit more green maybe into here. I'm going to go with an Undersea green and have a look at my gray, and I'm going to put in a line in there just like that. A little bit more pigment on the brush, pretty thick pigment, and I want to continue that on. I'm going to look right about from here and right underneath that gray. Just like that there. And maybe another line here. And another one here, and widening. So I started thin and I got a little wider with the brush there. And it's almost disappeared because the background is still wet. So you can, as this tightens up, you can do it again. And then it'll just spread for you there. And I do want a little bit of a, I'm going to put a few little green marks for interest into here. And you'll probably remember from the timing video that it's very important to have a look at this bottom part here and see when it's wet enough to do the little splatter trick. So just clean water and a soft brush, give you foreground some detail like that. And look at what's happening already here. So you do it once and have a look at it, let it take its time. And you can also, you know, if you see it, you know, your watermarks up here, you can change the direction of them. Just run your dry or damp brush on them. Make sure your brush isn't too wet. And you can keep this in the foreground just like that. So now as this is drying, you've already splattered some water on it. So be careful when you splatter pigment on it. If you want to put some more detail down into here. And I'm just thinking and looking at the same time here. We got a little, you know, it's all these rocks that are about this big and all over this beach here. But I'm going to let this dry a little bit here because of the water that's splattered on it. And then I'm going to splatter some more pigment on. Okay, so let this dry just a little bit. Very carefully, that's not thick enough. Very carefully, just splatter a little bit of pigment on there. Not wet enough. And now I'm going to protect the top here a little bit better. Just like that. And I'm going to drop that now. Yeah, I'm going to watch your water there. That's okay, the water's dry behind and this is wet, so you can pick it up just by dabbing a little bit. And it's good. This background is still wet here too, so you gotta just, when you lift this paper up, if you do this, pick it straight up here. And you see I made a mark there that I don't particularly like from the paper towel, so you can just blend it in and it'll actually give you some nice little detail. I should have done that here. And you can just blend that in a little bit here to give you some nice interest. Just like that there. So if you want, you can add more color to this. You can add some, you know, different colors, like I got some iridescent blue pearl here mixed with some other color, and you can just put a hint of it in. And it'll catch people's eye and they'll go, well, that's neat, they use blue. So that's about it for this painting. You can work on this a little bit more. You can darken the edges here just a little bit. You can work on it, but there's a lot of magic when you just leave a painting, just let the paint dry on its own and then just see what it needs. You know, into here, what you can do is just add some more darks in the definition, but a nice pre-warm painting like this that's not overworked looks really good. So I think I'm just going to leave it, you know, the way that is there, and watch it as it dries to see if it needs a little help here and there. Well, thanks for watching. There's a super thanks button beside the share button if you care to donate to the channel. That goes to a great cause to improve studio equipment. And also please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks to all the new subscribers and existing subscribers. I hope you enjoyed this one. Leave a comment, please share and like. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.